And that's how you can use the match function for the row number and the column number argument for the index function. You can use just the row number, just the column number, or both of them together to make really powerful lookup formulas. Now that can seem rather confusing at this point, so let's go ahead and dig into some of the examples, and it should be a little easier to understand after that. For the first example, let's start off with a very basic vertical lookup here. Equals index, open parentheses. Now for the array, what value do we want to return? Let's get the sales number for a particular part. So we select sales, comma. Now which row do we want to get? Well, it's for a particular part, so we need to find out which row that part is. So we use the match function, open parentheses. Let's go ahead and get, let's say, ASC-4. So for our lookup value, we do quotation mark, ASC-4, close quote. Remember, for lookup values, just like for the VLOOKUP, you need quotation marks around text. You don't need it around individual numbers. So ASC-4 with quotation marks, comma, the lookup array, that's going to be the part number column. And here we have a very interesting thing you have to take note of. These two tables, these two arrays right here, have to be exactly the same height. If you don't have it the same height, you're going to get the wrong result. Because remember, the match function will tell you how many rows from the top it found the value. And then it's going to return that. In this case, it'll find out ASC-4 is in row 3. Then it's going to return that to the index function and say return the value from row 3. So over here it's going to go 1, 2, 3 to return 9, 5, 5, 8. If you had this over here, just 1 up, it wouldn't work, or 1 down. So make sure it's the exact same size. For match type, we're going to do 0 for exact match, close parentheses. We don't need a column number for this one. Close parentheses, and we get 9, 5, 5, 8. So you can see here, if I just replaced this with a 3, we'd get the same result. So we're just using the match function to tell us how many rows to go down, and that's it. Now let's do a horizontal lookup. Equals index, open parentheses. Now, what values do we want to return? Let's go ahead and get the alt part, the alternative part, here for one of these parts over here. So I'm going to keep it very simple, and let's say we're going to figure out which alternative part we want for ASC-7. So I'm going to select this table right here, just these 3 cells. And now the next thing we need is a match function to tell us from which column to return a value. Column 1, 2, or 3. So going back to the index function over here, we type a comma, and the next argument is actually for the row number instead of the column number. Now we can do one of a few things here. If it's easier for you to remember this, you can just input a 1, or you can just leave it blank by typing another comma, and then entering the column number argument. Or, instead of doing any of that, we can put the match function here that we'd put for the column number argument. Now that may sound a little bit confusing, but the point is put a 1 here, put nothing here, and just type in a comma, or just go with a match function that we're going to put in anyway. So match, open parentheses. What's the lookup value? Let's get it from alt part 2. Comma, lookup array, right here. Match type, 0 for exact. Close parentheses. And remember, even though it says we're at the row number argument, don't worry about that. We don't need to put anything in for the column number. Just leave it like it is. Close parentheses, and we should get CRC-9. Now, just to show you what I meant over here, since we put this in for the row number argument, and just mentally that can seem confusing, or it may be confusing for other people who look at your work later on and think, this only goes left to right, it's horizontal, why did they put that in there for the row number? If you want to make it easier on yourself, put a 1 in there, comma, and then put this in for the column number argument. It's going to return the same value. or you can take out the 1 and leave it blank. Same thing. So in this example, what we want to do is get something from H2 to J2 right over here. And we need to figure out which column to use. So we use the match function here. And we search for alt part 2 up here. And just like in the vertical lookup, we had to make sure that the size up and down was the same number of rows in each selection. Here we need to make sure the same number of columns are present in each selection. Otherwise, it's going to return an incorrect result. So in the match function, we've got 3 columns, and in the index function, we've got 3 columns. Now that you've got those 2 examples down, let's combine both of them to make a 2-way lookup. And you'll see this is a lot more intuitive than a 2-way lookup with VLOOKUP or HLOOKUP. So we go equals index. Now, this is the one part that does change a bit. This time,